Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Natasha Graziano. So excited today. We have one of my favorite humans, somebody who has just blown it out of the park in multiple areas. He is someone in the music industry. You might have seen him on TV. He's innovative. He's at the forefront of everything. He's into cards. I know it sounds a little bit similar to someone we recently had on. In fact, they're like best friends. How funny. Today, we are sitting with one of the most amazing DJs of our time, somebody who has advanced music in a phenomenal way. He is involved with some amazing projects, and we're going to dive deeper into all of this stuff. Today, we have the amazing DJ Skee.
Natasha, I need you to intro me everywhere I go, I think, right? Like, it gets no better. Amazing. What's up? So glad to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. You know, I actually really enjoy doing intros for people.
It's amazing.
I actually
You've got
enjoy
a great skill.
Thank you. What I love is at events, like when I'm hanging or even at a dinner party with my friends here, and I've got guests over and I'll have like somebody there, and I love introducing. I'm like, this is Oscar award winning movie producer, and this is Grammy award winning. And I just go straight to it. Because then people don't have to go sit on their phone and be like, Google, who is this person? Have I missed a beat? Because you always want to know.
And there's a lot of successful and a lot of great people out there. And it always helps too, like when you're giving intros. One thing that I read and that's always stuck with me is always, if you're unsure of the exact thing, always overstate what somebody else does, because it makes them feel better. Like you don't want to understate, like, oh, here's Natasha. She's like got a little show, right? Like she has the biggest show in the world, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's better to overstate and all that, because you're going to make the other person always like feel good and look good too.
I love that.
Little life pro tip.
Yeah, I love that's a really good tip to start off. Always over intro. And you know what? It's actually a lot cooler doing it that way.
100%.
You're like lifting somebody up.
100%.
Particularly if they actually don't have a lot going on, and then you lift them up. You just like lit somebody's candle.
Yeah, exactly.
I love doing that. Oh my God. Okay, so there's so much I want to dive into with you. How did this begin? You started in DJing, but DJing is just the tip of the iceberg for you with music. You know, you've created industries. You're building and leading and pioneering in so many different fields. What are you passionate about right now?
For me, there's so much stuff going on. I mean, we're at this real intersection where the world is changing. We look at AI, we look at technology and Web3 and metaverse and like 3D digital twins. I mean, we're seeing the internet move from something that's flat that we're so used to and accustomed to smartphones, to Apple releasing glasses, to 3D immersive worlds kids are spending 4 hours a day in, and more time with their friends there than the real world. So we're kind of at this, I think, one of those transformative moments in history. And I'm just so excited to be alive and be here at that early phases and trying to, figure it out with everybody else.
I love that. Are you into reversing your biological age as well?
I haven't gotten that deep yet. I'm reading about it, right? Like, and I'm now taking like the right vitamins and doing things like that. But I mean, the science is, there's so much stuff out there, right? And it's so new and complex. Like, I'm going to let some other people do that, right? Like, and realize, I also realize probably not meant to live forever. So like, I'm fine, right? Like, it'd be awesome, but maybe, but what
is it about AI that you're into? Because you're massive into it.
AI, I think, is
so
transformative, right? Because it's changing the way the world operates. And we're at this inflection point where we're going to look back at these days. And for us, everybody watching this, like, we're fortunate enough to be here to be able to get in this early. And even if you're not in and you're not familiar with it, you're still earlier than anybody else. It's one of those things that everybody knows is coming. It's almost like, oh yeah, the internet's coming. And then all of a sudden it takes over. And like, a lot of people are scared. We were talking about them losing their jobs. And, there was a great quote somebody said in a panel that I hosted last week at a big convention called Patau. And it's that, don't worry about AI taking your job. It's going to be the person that knows how to prompt and use AI that's going to take your job.
100%. We were literally, talking about this before. I was saying, like, when the car was invented, the horse cart man, he was probably sitting there like, I don't want the wheels, but boy, like, we all need cars. Like, the horse cart man, move on. Like, we're on to the next thing.
100%. That's what it's about. And like, we even saw it with DJing, right? Like, when I came up, I learned how to DJ on vinyl, and then digital DJing came around with Serato and using your laptop. And people thought it wasn't pure and it wasn't real. And I was like, well, it's great that I know the original stuff. Now I can do a lot more and focus instead of carrying and searching through. It used to be like we'd have to search for records, right? So like being at a club and a DJ set and you're transforming, and say if you put in a request, it'd be like, I'd have to look through physical records, like, damn, where is that? Change it, do that. Now I just type it in, load it, it's there. And I can focus on putting on a better show in other areas and talking to the crowd and finding the next song and doing live mixes and remixing. So it's like you either get left behind or you embrace technology. And I've always just been into it and embracing it. But like things like that in every field are happening right now. And it's able to make life so much easier. We saw the internet open doors and connect the world. And now AI is enabling us to do so much more than we ever could. I don't have to be, art. It's funny, right? Like we look at AI art and people are like, is this real art? Is it happening? You could question. I'm sure there was somebody when like Paint came out and like digital things
That's
like this.
AI
Like, is this
behind you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's crazy. Is it really?
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I mean, I'm looking at TV shows. Yeah,
uh,
that's sick. I see damn Einstein. That's fire. But like it's an incredible tool, but you still need somebody to like curate and put those things on.
100%.
So you don't, it's like producer. Dr. Dre's probably one of, if not the greatest producer of all time, but he's not sitting there playing every instrument. He's bringing in tools to that toolkit, but he's orchestrating it, right? And it wouldn't be the same without that. And that's kind of what AI lets you be, the conductor.
No, I love that. I mean, I was in the studio the other day and I was doing not music in the way, an artist would. I'm my own artist. So I'm doing a motivational track and I was dropping these like really powerful speeches and a couple of like, bolder, more like affirmation style tracks, like really powerful, right? With the big bass and the producer's really dope. He's called Major. You might know him actually. He did all of Bieber stuff. And so anyway, we're sitting there together, we're doing it. And if it wasn't for AI, he wouldn't have added some crazy flares onto it.
100%.
It just adds to what you're doing. And if it wasn't for AI, half my shit was on fucking ChatGPT.
Yeah, right.
And I love it and I own it. I'm like, I speak my own words. People see me freestyle on stage, but I absolutely want to have words that I would never say, like whimsical.
It's inspiration, right? So like you can use it as tools. And it's like right now, I'm just so embraced. Like I'm in a learning process right now, transparently, like going in, trying to absorb, test, break things, see what works, see what doesn't, see how I can apply it. And that's the only way to get in and know is to not be afraid and just jump in feet first.
I 100% agree. Feet first, you have to just do it. And, I know it's difficult for people who are more set in their ways, much, much older. And they're like, what is this? But my business partner who, we're doing a show together right now, Larry Namer, the founder of E, we are building and he's like, he's totally like into all this stuff. And the reason I mentioned him, not only because he's been on the show, but because he's like, he taught me this thing and he said, I could be stuck in my ways, still stuck with linear TV saying, this is how it should be. I should be doing this. Keep it that way. But no, he's at the forefront. He's like, you've got to know what the kids are doing. 100%. You've got to be at the front of it so that you don't miss it.
100%.
And that really stuck with me. I was like, I have to make sure, you're more ahead than me. And I was like, you're much older than me. I need to make sure that I get my shit together so I know what's happening.
There's still time. And same for me, right? Like I was fortunate enough to be on the biggest radio platform in the world on iHeart and Kiss and Sirius for 10 years, have the only music show on TV at a time, right? And left both of those because I realized like this next generation isn't watching cable TV. They're not in linear TV. Yeah. They're not listening to terrestrial radio. So rather than, even though I was at like the height of my craft in that world, rather than like become a dinosaur and age into that, I was like, this is not the future. I'd rather go out and do something else, even if it doesn't work, right? Like to just, to be a part of something new and realizing where trends were going. So
100%. I love it being ahead. Okay, so that's one big passion of yours. Well, you've achieved so much with finding artists. Didn't you discover, or work, you've toured with, or did you find, was it Kendrick, Justin, Akon, Lord? Like there's some amazing
those
people.
guys. I was fortunate, right? Like going back to Akon was the first artist that I worked with when we signed him at SRC. Steve Rifkin gave me my big break when I was 16. He offered me a job, moved me to LA, and was the first.
You left school at that point, right?
Figured a way to graduate high school early. Back to U-Haul, and drove across the country. And Akon was the first artist, so helped launch his career, which was awesome to see. Then got known as like being the person that broke all these artists from a mixtape level. Doing Kendrick's ever first project. I remember meeting Kendrick when he was 15 or 16. Came and freestyled in my studio, and I was like, wow, if we can ever like make a cohesive album or song, he'll be all right. He's turned out he's been all right. And through this, again, like having these platforms like in a network, like I was just the kid that was always searching out what was new, whether it was technology, sneakers, culture, music, right? And was fortunate, like if you look up Post Malone's first interview, Gaga credits me with doing her first interview. Travis Scott. First, I was just looking, we have a poster from the TV show, and it was the first time a lot of these artists were ever on TV, even going back, Nipsey, all these guys. And, Travis didn't even have a headshot, right? Like we had to silhouette an outline of his head, right? Because there was no like promotional material from it. That's how early a lot of those people were. So I was just fortunate to be in the right place at the right time and have a platform and, have a good network. It wasn't just me, people around me that were always telling me and kind of keeping up to date with it and keeping my ear to the streets to find out what was new.
I love that. Well, that's what it's about. It's about, being around good people and who are you friends with. Like your network is your net worth.
100%.
It's so interesting. When I look at who I have around me, I never feel like it's a surprise because I'm just integrated. I'm in that place. I'm just like at the forefront of like what's happening, making their life better. If you add value to people's lives, they want to work with you.
100%. That's what it's all about. So
yeah, adding value is like everything. Okay, wait, you were telling me before about this billboard. Can we talk about it? Or is it?
Sure.
Oh my God. I'm so excited because I've been on big billboards in the NASDAQ billboard in Times Square. I'm on one right now in LA on what's it called? La Cienega.
That's amazing. Of course you are, right?
I'm so excited. So like I'm on the cover of this magazine. It just got released. So I'm really looking forward to I love billboards, but you've just gone and like up the whole ante. What is the billboard you were just telling? Tell everyone about this billboard that you are now involved with.
Yeah, so check out TSX. It's a one-of-a-kind project that I'm fortunate enough to be involved in. It's the biggest development in the history of Times Square. $3 billion project, basically, right? Like, and it's, anchored by a brand new Hilton property called Tempo that's coming this fall. But the bottom 10 stories are like what we're considering the Disneyland for music and pop culture. And it's anchored by the biggest billboard in New York. The facade is bigger than Mount Rushmore. It's bigger than the White House. It's the only billboard beyond being, and also it's at the busiest intersection in the entire Western Hemisphere, 47th and Broadway. So not only is it the best location, biggest billboard, it's the only billboard in the world with sound.
Wow.
And that's a difficult thing to do, right? Because with network interference, like latency, like if there's a half-second delay and you're watching somebody's mouth, it doesn't look right. So they have some incredible technology they've built in. So you can pop in AirPods and basically watch. We just announced, it just came out, that we're streaming some of the Tribeca Film Festival, one of the movies in that live so people can watch it. We streamed the Super Bowl there. And also, if that's not enough, like in the middle of the stage, 2 doors can open up and 100 seats pop out on this giant stage. So you'll watch some of the biggest artists, like, investors include everybody from like, Sound the Weeknd to Post Malone, and you'll be seeing artists like that performing for hundreds of thousands of people in Times Square.
Yo, that's so cool. I should come in there and drop a speech at some
100%.
point.
We got to get you on there.
Open up for the artists.
100%.
Yo.
And we're doing a really cool thing where anybody can get on the billboard right now, right? So if you download the TSX app, we're doing this thing called Pixel Star, and you upload a 15-second video, you pay $40, you get your video on Times Square for the world to see. So we wanted to open it up and really make it, it's not something that we're selling to advertisers. We wanted to make it like the world's biggest like pop culture social feed. So
that's pretty cool. Fun. Well, stay tuned on this space because this
crazy.
Is dope.
Well, next time you're in New York, let me know. We'll get you all hooked up.
Oh my God, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, tell me an I made it moment.
Ooh, I made it moment.
I've had a few,
I guess yeah, it was just fun. I was walking around with my dad, right, in New Orleans, and like just in the streets randomly, I had sunglasses, a hat, and just people coming up to me, right, like saying who, like, oh, you DJ, blah blah blah, and like watching that moment, you're like, oh, cool, like in front of your parents, right? So they get to see that it's real and random. It wasn't like. Wasn't it a show? It wasn't like it's somewhere. It wasn't even like a sneaker shop, right? Where I'll get more kids to know me now for my sneaker collection than anything else, right? Like so, it was just like randomly in the streets of a city that I don't like. New Orleans, I love, right? Like, but not from there.
It wasn't like it was Miami or LA or like Vegas, a city where you.
I think that happened recently, so it's it's funny to see that, and it's I think it's validation.
I agree. It's really funny talking about the parents thing because. My parents know what I do, but it was only recently my mom was walking through the airport coming into LA. She's bringing my son back from the UK. And as they came in, the security and the like immigration, whatever things. And he was like to her, I wasn't there, and this is the story she told me. Yeah. And she said, he said, so wait, you're the grandmother of the boy? And she was like, yeah. And he was like, so where's the parents? Natural questions you're going to ask when you're bringing a kid across. And she said, she's standing on the other side of the gate in arrivals waiting for me. And he was like, who's your daughter? And then she said, well, her name's Natasha Graziano. And he went, oh my God, the motivational
That's
speaker.
awesome.
And he was like, okay, you can go in. I have no more
That's
questions.
amazing.
I know, because she talks about her son. He, like this, immigration officer, there was how
So
many
cool,
of them
right?
there, just like, and he was, my mom was like came out, she's like almost crying. I was like, you okay? She's like, I just had such a nice moment. I couldn't believe it was so random. Like, you actually are famous. I was
That's
like,
awesome. That's so cool. It's great. And she got
I
in.
was like,
Canada.
yeah, she got in fine. I was like, Jesus Christ, mom. Because they were like a few minutes late, I was like,
Yeah. What's
what
going
is
on?
going
You never know at
on?
customs, right?
Yeah.
It's
like,
funny.
what
I
is-
had the opposite experience at customs in Canada maybe a year ago. Like I was going through and they knew, oh, DJ Skee. I was like, oh, great. I'm going to get in. And Canada's notoriously difficult
weird,
to
isn't
get
it?
into, right? And they were like, awesome. But then they were like, then the guy was like, oh, cool. I thought I was going to braze right in. What are you here for? What are you doing? I was like, oh, yeah, come on,
they
bro.
were
Like,
joking,
it
and they
was
knew
funny.
who you
So
were.
first I was like, yeah. And then I was
No,
like,
they just
oh,
wanted
no.
your time. They just wanted your time for sure. Just to say, like, I interviewed DJ Skee.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I had
funny.
that moment with him.
It was
Like,
funny,
yeah,
but
that's so funny. Okay, so that's a good I made it moment. I like
Yeah.
that. Is there a story that your family would tell about you that's like a funny one or something emotional?
I think like, I'd always, they joke, right? That I'm, everything that I loved as a kid, I figured out how to make into a business, right? Like my first business was selling baseball cards. Now I have a shop and my own line with tops and have done a ton in that space. I love DJing and music and obviously made a career from that. Loved sports, right? Like how do I do that? Now, with Skee Sports, not only do I DJ for my hometown teams like the Vikings and Twins and things like that back in Minnesota, but we power entertainment for a lot of other teams. We've worked across the NFL and NBA, do NASCAR. I just did the Indian Wells here on the tennis side. So although like, I didn't make it the way that I thought I was going to be into pro sports. Now I've still made it in the stadium and found my own lane. So they always just laugh like, hey, everything that you've loved as a kid, like from sports cards, music, you've just figured video games, like doing work and doing music with like Halo and things like that. They're like, you've just turned into your career. So,
That's really powerful.
so I said like you, like I'd never work, right? Like everything that I do is
you love it.
Just like passion.
Don't
that's why
do
people
vacations.
I'm like, that's why it's work because it's fun. It's what I really enjoy and love.
I love that. Do you travel a lot?
It's nonstop. This year's been like damn near every week, so it's crazy.
Oh my God.
A little too much, but
yeah, I know the feeling.
I can't complain, right?
Well, you're like Steve. He's at Steve Aoki, or you lot know him.
He's a maniac. I don't like
200 days a fucking year. He's on tour.
Like I can't compete with him. Like I don't want to. Like kudos to Steve. I was just talking to him. I was like, dude, you're crazy. I don't know. I mean, he lives for that, right?
We should FaceTime him after. He's
right?
like, yeah, we will. I think he's in Vegas right now. He's actually like travels more than anyone I've ever met in my life and still looks fresh.
Right. And across the world, like not just like, for me, it might be like New York, LA, some international stuff. Like he's in, Asia, then Europe, then America. It's
like fucking nuts.
Crazy.
But for you, like so I believe taking a vacation is like, I don't want to vacate because I love what I do. This is my reality. Sure. You like,
Same way. I mean, you realize though you need to at certain points, and you're more effective when you're able to take a break and sometimes step away. Sometimes when you are most effective. So I try to turn off work now, like at a certain, as much as you can. It's not always the case, but to turn off at a time, and like then you actually get creative and are able to have those times where you're not just like in that rat race. But yeah, I guess I speak about it more than I actually act on it. So
can we unbox this more? Yeah, obviously, this is the Law of Attraction Secrets, the show. So we are all about positivity, thinking and believing and doing the right way rather than getting caught in a bad loop, a negative loop. So what do you do for yourself? Because you work so hard, you do so much, but what do you do for you? What are your moments of like Skee?
I think for me, like it's realizing what's important. And I think for me, it comes down to basic human necessities, right? Like making sure I get enough sleep. I didn't do that enough early on. I was the guy that was on the road DJing and would come and do like, fly in and out and miss those things, but then just not be effective. And I realized like I don't perform as high if I don't get enough sleep. Making sure to eat healthy, making sure to exercise. Like if I don't exercise, like I'll be grumpy, right? Like I just notice it in myself and I just don't feel right from that. So I think it's like key for me has been like taking it back a step and looking at our basic kind of almost like human needs from sleep, food, exercise, eating right, and taking care of yourself in that way and making sure that you do that so you can be the most effective and be the best you, whether it's performing, whether it's even on the work side, like coming up with ideas and running a business. Like it's important for you to be at your best.
Hey, my name is Natasha Graziano. I would love to invite you to my book club, which is hosted every week live on Zoom with me and loads of VIP coaches that we bring in every time for you. VIP coaches like John Assaraf from The Secret, Michael Beckwith from The Secret, and some of my A-list stars and Selling Sunset girls that you may know of. I can't wait to get to know you. I can't wait to help you unlock the code to the law of attraction, unlock the code to abundance, unlock the code to what you truly want in your life. You see, it's just literally a switch. Once I learned to turn it on, my life changed dramatically. I went from a girl who had nothing in the bank account, hundreds of thousands in debt. I was a girl who was kind of trapped in her own mind. I guess I thought life was as it was and it would never get any better and money would never come into my life. And then I turned on the code to the law of attraction, understanding the neuroscience behind it, understanding the ancient wisdom behind it, and my life changed dramatically. And here I am now showing you how you too can transform your life. When you come, you'll be around other successful entrepreneurs, other people who are also wanting to better their life. I can't wait to show you how you too can better your life. Come and join us. It's all available inside of the app. Click the link below and I'll see you there. I love that.
An athlete needs rest before a game. They're not going to stay out all night. Like even training and practicing, like at a certain point, you lose those things. So you have to like sometimes step away and make sure that you take care of all those needs.
And like with when you are performing, for example, I say performing, but I know you guys pretty call it something different. But like when you're performing, I call what I do performing, even though I'm speaking, but like,
No, it's performance.
like to use when you like if you have pressures around you over the years, obviously like we're our own people, we know how to say no, but if you have pressures from like drink, drugs, how have you steered away from it because you're so clean?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I was fortunate to never really get into anything and never had those desires. I mean, I grew up with my mother being an alcoholic, so that kind of kept me away, especially like realizing I'm an addictive personality and, not wanting to fall into those things. But I also feel like I didn't need that. I just never had the desire, right? Like, so it was never, a lot of people are like, damn, how do you do it as a DJ with all the temptations and stuff that you see? And to be honest, I never really was. It wasn't very difficult for me. Like I just kind of made a conscious decision, and I've always been like that steadfast of like, and maybe being stubborn, right? But like, hey, whatever I'm focused on and whatever I decide on is what I'm going to do. So
just stick to it. That's really important. Do you meditate?
Not enough. I try to. It's something I've fallen out of recently. I need to get back to
I'll send you one. I'll create you one. I do it for
Oh,
my
it's
my
amazing.
like I look after a lot of like stars and entrepreneurs, and I send them these powerful personalized affirmation tapes they listen to. So when you're like flying, you're like, you can ask Steve
love
about
it.
his, and you just
100%.
like zone in and you just like listen, and it really helps having somebody whose voice you love when they do their put you to bed voice.
Sure,
And
right?
it's like real calm and like beautiful, and it goes into your subconscious mind. It helps you rewire your thoughts, rewire what you want to
interesting.
achieve and focus, because our brain is more impressionable when we're in the alpha state and theta state, right? And then delta when we sleep. So that's when you want to rewire your brain. That's when you want to get into, that's what you want to do when you meditate, get into those brainwave states. So it's slower, it's an altered state of consciousness. You don't need drugs for it. You can do it with, crazy psychedelics, but why not just do it through breath work?
100%.
Why not do it through relaxation modalities? And then all of a sudden you find yourself, wow, when I return to this place of relaxation every single day, my productivity goes up,
100%.
my focus goes up. You feel so much better in your life. You're calmer, you feel elevated. And then you realize, wow, meditation. I couldn't go a day without meditating.
Awesome.
If I miss it, I notice.
And like I've done it and gone through those things. I'm just in a phase where I'm in bad habit right now of not doing it and other things. So I have to prioritize. So
100%.
There we go.
I'm going to make you prioritize. I'm going to
Let's
send it
go.
to you. I can be your accountability partner and be like, tick, did it
Please.
today.
Let's do it. I need it.
You need someone like who
100%.
just sits with you and is like,
Just do it. Get it done. We always make excuses when we're busy, but the truth is you can do anything. It's just what you prioritize.
This is so, can we go into this topic? Because talking about priorities is so interesting. We are, by the age of 30, a bag of habits. Like who we are now and beyond our 30s is a bag of habits.
True.
And so what habits have you accumulated and become? And then we get to choose who we are. So I'm like, fuck, if I don't want to be that person anymore, I need to let go of those habits, those people, those events, those victim and fictitious things that I've been a part of, and be a certain way. So when I transformed my life, 3 years ago, I was literally in mountains of debt, single mom, just trying to get out of a fucking mess I gotten myself into. I was coming off the back of a drug addiction, and I was like, I was so embarrassed as a human. Like, where am I? Where have I gotten to?
Look how far you've come in such a short amount of time.
Because I changed my priorities.
And it can happen that quick.
Yes. Have you been through a low?
What'd you say?
Have you been through a low? Like, have you had a low in your life?
Always, right? Like, I mean, that's the story of anything, especially as an entrepreneur, right? Like, it's a very lonely thing because everything depends on you. And like, I mean, going back from my childhood, like, you know, being forced to grow up myself through situations with my mother, which I don't regret because it's made me who I am. Like, we've taken those things and evolved and embraced those. But yeah, I mean, I think we all do, and that's a challenge. No matter, I mean, I've seen it with the most successful people in the world. Like, there's always ups and downs, and that's life, and you have to embrace both of those, and also not run away from them.
100%. You have to lean into it. Talking of priorities, okay, love, one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
You love love?
I think who doesn't, right?
Yes. It's so interesting that what's love to you?
Love, I think, it's a good question. I mean, it's a feeling that is unique to us humans, right?
Yes.
That only we can do, that can be of anything. It can be of like, I love baseball and sports and things like that. Obviously, we all associate it with people, but it can be habits. It can be, you know, a multitude of things that we really enjoy and look forward to and go out of our ways to seek out.
Interesting. Have you ever been in love?
Of course.
Are you easy to fall in love?
I don't think so. I don't think I'm easy to fall in love. I think, you know, it takes a lot to like, I think I put up a lot of walls, especially from where I have to do those things. So I think it takes a while, you know?
Interesting. So I'm the polar opposite. I fall
Really?
in love
Instantly?
in like a heartbeat. I got married after 3 months, babe. That was the second one.
True, it's great. And
Like,
it's worked out though,
I'm fine
apparently,
with it.
right?
I'm really like that. I'm super fucking impulsive. And
Yeah.
like, I just believe that love is, if you're just ready for it and you open your arms to it, the right person will come in. Now, I'm not saying boundaries are not good. You know, I wish I probably set a few more because like, I don't know if I'd marry this cat again. But like, you know, but like, you know, it's more, he's saying in the background.
Yeah, I know, we're laughing, we're smiling at him.
Oh my God, no, he's wonderful. But you know, the point is we basically have a choice.
Yeah.
Love is a choice. And it's scary because when you fall in love, you're going to get hurt potentially.
Oh yeah.
And relationships are not easy. You're going to have moments where it's really hard.
Yeah.
And so we put our heart on the line. And for people who are like control freaks, and I'm a bit of a control freak, and like super strong in what we do and successful, you don't always want to put your heart on the line, but like, it's hard for me because I love love.
It's tough. It's tough, right? Like, and that's the mysteries of life, right? Like, no matter where you are, the level of success, the amount of money that you have, like, these are the, you know, challenges that every human being faces. And what I've learned too, just like interesting, taking another step. When I started like growing up like in Minnesota, right? Like I think the fanciest car I ever saw was like a C-Class Mercedes. And I was like blown away by that, right? Like it never moved to LA, like saw Lamborghinis, like what is going on? But, you know, never thought I would be, you know, and let alone be interacting and working with like billionaires, right? Like that just seemed beyond my comprehension. Then as I did and was fortunate over enough my career to hang and be in those circles and now know a lot of them, right? And like sitting at dinner, I remember I was sitting in the Hamptons, you know, billionaire family's house, having dinner, talking about their problems and stuff. I was like, wait, they have the exact same problems everybody else does. And even the issues, and even like in money, the issues are there, just the zeros at the end change, right? So the same issue. Somebody might be arguing over $20. They might be arguing over 200 million, right? So like, but it's the same thing. Like they could have lost it, bad investment, good thing, done those things. But they're still facing the same things, dealing with issues in family, talking about love, talking about all these different things. And I realized like, wow, we really all like, no matter the class is the same. It's just what you're dealing with. Well, it's the same problem. It's just the amount of zeros changes.
I totally agree. Like you think with more money, less problems. No, it's the opposite. Actually, I think in so
and you're in the same
ways.
case, the same way you manage your money, right? Like if you're very risky with not having much money, you're going to be the same way with the same amount of money. You're just getting higher returns, but higher risks. And you know, the same when you start making it. It's you know, the same as if you were making middle class from that. It's just you're managing it the same way. It's just different zeros at the end, which was always fascinating to me. I was like, wow, we're really all the same, right? And sorry, not to get too philosophical, but Steve Jobs, one of my favorite quote is, he's like, once you realize that everything around us, like look at the computers, look at all these AI tools and stuff, was created by a human no different than you that bleeds just like you, that really opens your mind up. And I think there's a lot of kids, and that's one thing that I'm so passionate about empowering another generation is that they don't believe that they can do it. They think that like, oh, I'm from the Midwest, I'm not able to do this. And dude, if I can do it, like living the Hollywood dream as a kid, just a kid from Minnesota, like not being the smartest, not being the most successful, not being the best really in any of those things, just working hard. I'm like, anybody else can do it. But I think a lot of people don't realize like all these things are truly obtainable. And that's one thing that I really try to emphasize and tell and share with people, right?
I love that. That's really beautiful. When you were a kid, did you have a certain tenacity about you? Did you have a certain dream? Were you just like, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to go and do something different. I'm going to get out of this wonderful city, but go to
100%.
you know,
I mean, I couldn't
a bagel
do
line.
100%. Like I couldn't do what I wanted to do growing up in Minneapolis, right? Like there just wasn't a platform that it was LA or New York.
I didn't even know how to say Minneapolis until recently. Like, so it being something, what was it that was filmed there? We were filming something the other day.
Awesome.
Minneapolis. I
know it's tough. A lot of people say
Minneapolis,
Minneapolis, right? Like it's funny, Minneapolis.
I'll get there
We'll
one
get you
day.
there. We'll
Yeah,
get you there, and you'll enjoy it. So shout out to Minneapolis. It's still the hometown and love it, right?
I love it. Like
spend
I've
so much time
seen
there.
the most beautiful pictures, and like I'm gonna take a trip. But
as long as you're not there. But yeah, like I couldn't do what I was doing, and I knew like as soon as I got into DJing, like that's what I was gonna do. Not from like a cocky perspective, but just like, no, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna find a way to make it happen. And I knew like to hit the successes that I wanted, I had to leave, right? I had to go to New York or LA, and made it happen and took the risk.
God, I love that. I knew with me, I had to move to LA. Same thing. And I had to do a transatlantic move.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Right? Like with a kid as well. I was like, this is a big ass move. Like I knew I needed to do it. I needed to do it for many years, to be honest. I've been working in LA, like just had so much on. And then I was like, I have to just move. Like my studio's over there. Like I have my first studio in LA. Now I have it in my house, but like I was massively like back and forwards on a plane, and all my students and my clients were predominantly in LA, New York, Miami, but a lot LA. And I was like, okay, I'm being called. Like I knew I had to go. So I manifested it. I wrote it down. I decided, okay, I am going to move there. And I wrote it. I did my method.
That's awesome.
Called scripting, where you write your goals that you want, your future, in the past tense, as though you've already achieved it. So I was like, Natasha did this and moved to LA by March 1st, 2023. And I moved well before that. But yeah,
amazing. Congrats.
It happened. So I wrote it down. Have you ever done any like interesting things with journaling, writing things down?
I haven't done as much. I mean, I have like, I do a pretty good job with my team of like keeping to-do lists and putting now like different goals, like occasionally, but more like very time focused, not holistically. Like I want to get to that, but I do have those things in my head, right? Like, so I kind of manifest them in a different way or keep them in a different way.
Well, that's seeing it in your mind is the same thing. If you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. But you're a super manifester. Like you don't even know. You're someone who just like does it without even knowing, right?
I just find things that I love and then look for little opportunities and then take advantage and kick in the door whenever I can.
Yes, I love that. So do you do any other mindfulness practices at all? Like do you walk in nature?
Yeah, 100%. I try to do like get outside as much as you can. I've realized the power recently. One of my big learnings over the last year, and I did some like biohacking and body testing, was like how good walking is for you. From like especially like after you eat, right? Like learning and watching like how you digest foods is like you could do the biggest workout and do those things and then like eat and then chill, and it's not as good for you as if you don't do that workout and eat, then just take a little walk. Like I was blown away by like the little difference that can do. And we all know the value of getting out to nature and like getting sun and getting your vitamin doses every day from that. So really make it a point to go out and do those things and try to also like calm down before bed, try to like get away from emails like an hour before you fall asleep at least. And
tough, right?
It's tough, right? Like, and I don't do a great job of it, but like consciously trying and doing those things and to make sure that you get quality sleep, right? So I'm trying, right? Like it's a work in progress.
I found a really good trick.
What's that?
Because I'm also obviously an addict on my phone. My screen time is like, 11 hours a day. Like, and it's like, and it went up 16 minutes from last week. I'm like, thanks for that. I know it's going up, not down, but I have a way. I do all my, as Dan, when Dan comes on the show, Dan's a really good friend of both of us, Dan Fleischman. You guys have obviously seen him on the show a couple of times. So he talks about it. This phone is the way that you communicate. This is the way that we get everything done. It's how I connected with you. It's 100%. How everything happens through your device. That's why it's so hard for people like us to get off it. But I found a really good way.
What's that?
So in the evening, I have a rule after the sun goes down. So I try and do it from around 7, 8. We have no lights on in the house apart from candles or like crystal lights that are dim. Yeah. So it's kind of like a medieval setting.
That's smart. I mean, that's what we were accustomed to, right? Like it's what we're trained to. I mean, light is relatively new outside of candles and stuff over the last 100 years.
Yes, exactly. So we essentially just let our eyes relax at night that way. And then we go back to writing. We get off the phone where possible,
Smart.
just like turn it on airplane
like
mode.
it.
And
I like that.
Yeah.
Dimmer nights. Yes, I
Dimmer
like
lights,
it.
that's the
Candles.
quickest way to get off your phone because you're forced to, because suddenly it feels like nighttime.
Right.
And then by the time the sun sets, you're already in that zone of chill and you've got candles and it's seductive and calming.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, then all of a sudden I'm like, no laptop in the bedroom. And I kind of have an office in my bedroom as well. So it's like tough. So I try
I know,
to use
right?
my,
Try to separate.
yeah, so
I built my
I'm
own like separate office. to
yeah,
do that.
exactly. But I mean, my husband uses our office, so I have to use my other office in the bedroom. Well, it's built that way, so it works out. But I just effectively don't allow laptops after the sun goes down. I feel
Smart.
like that's the best way. Going into like calming environments, handwriting from that moment. So when I want to text, I get out a notepad of somebody, unless it's urgent for tomorrow morning. I will write a list. I'm like, okay, speak to this person about my TikTok, connect with this person about this. And I put it pen to paper. So the next day,
awesome.
I already have my list of things that I've written by hand. It's kind of just a process, and I'm getting much better at it now. I'm like
awesome.
committing to writing things down, which is really cool. Okay, few more questions, and then there's so much I want to ask you. So I feel like we're gonna have to come back for
good.
part
We'll
two.
do, of course.
We're gonna do part two.
Of course.
If you could chat with your younger self, like your younger self, this cute, sweet, innocent Skee is in front of you. And he's standing there and he doesn't believe in himself yet. He doesn't know. He's like, before you really decided at 16 that you were going to take that, your lucky break, what would you tell him? What would you go back and actually whisper in his ear that you'd want him to hear?
I think everything's going to be all right, right? Like, don't worry about things, but also like enjoy the moments. I think, especially young and early on when I was touring the world and doing a lot of those things, I was just so highly focused on work. Yes, I'd been able to tour and go to all these great places and see things, but I really hadn't, right? Like, you land at an airport, you go to the hotel, you go to the venue, you come back, you don't really seeing and enjoying those things. So while I got to see and have, go to all these incredible places, I really didn't. And I wish I embraced that more. And I try to do that now when I can, right? Like, and if I have to go to Europe for a conference, right? Like to Cannes for this, all right, can I spend a couple extra days and see it and enjoy it? And if it's somewhere new that I've never been, can I get in a little early and enjoy, make the most of it and do those things whenever possible? So I think I didn't appreciate and didn't enjoy things as much. I was just so focused on work and missed and regret like a lot of those opportunities I missed, or turning down things like, no, I'm too busy, I've got to be in the studio, instead of going and seeing something and experiencing that. I mean, it's gotten me where I am in my career, but there is regret that I have in like things that I've passed on in those moments. And our most valuable resource is time, and you don't want to do it all for work, right?
No, completely.
I'm trying to get like, and I think I'm better at that now, but that would be one piece of advice.
Do you have any hobbies?
For me, it's work, right? Like everything I do is like
Love
what I
what I
love to do from business, right?
Yeah.
So like everything you see, from cars, cards, sports, sneakers, music, like technology, games, like it's all my.
That's just you.
That's what I do for fun, right?
No, yeah, same. I love what I do. I'm like, that's my hobby.
I figure out how to make businesses from them. So
yes, you did. Like your dad was saying, your parents
Yep.
were saying, you created all these businesses
100%.
of things that you love. That's so dope. Okay, can we just, the final thing I want to say,
you
there is May 26th is DJ Skee Day, which just
Yes.
passed. Yo, how did you get a day dubbed as your day?
That's
like,
pretty cool.
that's so dope.
Especially for the hometown, right? Like we did it. They surprised me with it. I was doing the TV show, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to the mayor's office." And I was like, "What is this?" And getting that was just so cool, especially like in your hometown where you're from. It feels like a real sense of pride and accomplishment. Those milestones are good, right? And we can't get too caught up in them, but it's always good to know that you're on at least the right track from things like that. And being able to get like the key to the city and show those things off is just something fun to always talk about. And yeah, like for me now, it's about empowering others and trying to, for me, I try to take that day and showcase to others like, hey, if I can do it again, you can, and embracing others and putting on the next generation that are going to be far more successful than me.
Wow, I love that. Oh, so fun.
cool.
I've had the best time with you today. This is so cool.
It's been awesome. Yeah, we got to do it again.
We have to do it again, 100%. There's so much I want to talk about. I want to like dive into so many projects you're working on. And this is like, I feel like we've got so many things we're going to do.
Just scratching the surface.
We're just scratching the surface. So thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, share it with a friend. Make sure that you send this to someone that you feel is going to gain value from it. And I know I gained a lot of value, so I'm sure you did too. And if you have enjoyed it, tag your favorite clip on Instagram and tag DJ Skee, and you can tag me too at Natasha Graziano. DJ Skee's tags are below, so you can follow him and find him. Is there anything you want to put on the tag?
Thank you so much for having me. So great. Thanks to all you guys that watched through the end. And yeah, I can't wait to do it again.
Amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.